Welcome to Unity of Nuttery. Oh, I said, oh my God, I'm in the wrong place. That's my church I've been at for 6 years. And my friend Mike from there is there. Isn't that crazy? Yes. So maybe you should do since you know where we are.
Welcome to Unity on Mountain. You're so glad all of you are here. We're going to have a slight tweak on the program. I know it said we're going to start with it. My soul is welcome here, but we're not doing that one. We're going to skip right to I Said My Love.
Yeah, very simple. So just join in when you feel like it. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the seas. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the seas. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns. I send my joy. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the seas. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send peace. I send peace over the mountains. I send peace over the seas. I send peace into the heavens, and it returns. I vow to send my power. I send my power over the mountains. I send my power over the seas. I send my power into the heavens, and it returns. Once again, I send my love. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the seas. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. One more time, I send my love. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the seas. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. And it returns to
Oh, we're going to greet our neighbors. Yes. I'm sorry, I got so into the song. We're going to go ahead and just stand up and shake hands with our neighbors, greet each other. Good morning.
a wonderful day in my consciousness?
Yes.
All right. I'm so full of energy after that visioning that we had last night. I just can't express the emotions and the feeling that I have coming out of me. I hope it shows in this service, and I'm just so glad to see you here this morning. So let's begin with our opening statement. Please affirm together.
There is only one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God.
I've taken the liberty to light the Christ candle. We light this candle before the service and let it burn throughout the service to remind us that there is no time and no place that we can ever be where the Christ, the Spirit within, is not there with you. You have that security always. Now please join me as we affirm our vision and mission statement.
Centered in God, we inspire spiritual transformation, creating a world of love, peace, and prosperity. We are an inclusive spiritual community, inspiring, awakening, and serving in love.
And now we will affirm the children's blessing. And as we do this, I want us to remember not only the children who are present here with us, but the children throughout the world. And each of us, because we are each a child of Source. We are each that child within. So remember as we affirm that we are one. And please affirm with me the children's blessing. We love you.
We bless you. We behold the Christ in you. We accept you just the way you are. Walk in beauty. You are divine.
Go ahead and stand. We're going to sing our next song. We didn't stand for the first song, so we're going to go ahead and stand for the second song. We're going to sing Tapestry as we know it, but we come together.
I think my mic has died, but I have a really loud mouth, so I'll sing like this. I think the gremlins are at bay today, but that's quite all right if you move forward with flexibility.
Can you hear him?
Oh, yeah.
We don't have monitors.
All right, well, that's perfect. We come together in this moment, and we bind our hearts in love. For we are the tapestry.
Thank you.
So much for the prayer chaplain. Please bring the prayer box. We keep that prayer box in the back of the sanctuary so that it's available for you to write your prayers down and place them in the box.
Finish the statement. The theme was saying, after we have gathered the prayers to rescind the silent unity, we prayed over for the next month by unity as a whole. We offer these prayers as statements of our truths, our truths of our needs, our truths of our celebrations, our truths of who we are. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Leah, would you read the daily word, please?
The daily word for today is seize the moment. I embrace the possibilities for good in this moment. In her book, Lessons in Truth, H. Emil Caddy shares this affirmation. I am a manifestation of God. In every moment, life, love, wisdom, and power flow into and through me. Her words inspire me to begin thinking of problems as possibilities. I ask myself, what good thing is nearly ready to happen in life right now? I recognize my divine nature and my perspective transforms. I find meaning in every situation, every moment. The statement, wherever I am, God is, becomes a vibrant reality. Unlimited life, love, wisdom, and power are mine to use, not only as I move through major life events, but also in the ordinary moments of everyday life. God's life, love, wisdom, and power express in my decisions and in my actions. Let us love, not in word or speech, but in truth and action. 1 John 3:18.
Thank you. Let us now begin to move inside. Bring your attention within so that we can affirm together the Lord's Prayer as our Master Teacher Jesus taught us to pray. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
All right. Are you sure you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
No, I don't think the mic is actually on. Is it going to be easy? So we have the gremlins going on, so we're going with the flow. Everybody just chill out. Talk amongst yourselves. Can we get is the mic stand on here? That we can use and I can go to it. Oh, there we go. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Amy, for jumping into action there. All right. All right. I'm so happy to be here with you all. And I woke up this morning just also inspired with our visioning session we had last night. It was very beautiful and mystical and magical. And so we're going to take some time to move into the stillness together, to the silence. At my spiritual center in the New Orleans area in Metairie, we actually take quite a bit of time doing this. We won't do that much today, just a few minutes, but I have come to know that the most important thing that we can do is to move into the silence and begin to listen to that still small voice that's within us. We can go to workshops and read books and retreats, and all those things are beautiful, but the real power comes when we allow ourselves to be still and move beyond the thoughts of the ego, any thoughts of limitation. Within you in this moment is a vast sacred space that is timeless and ageless, forever loving, forever loved. And so we access this genius, beautiful, magnificent part of ourselves by moving into the silence and the stillness. So I invite you to relax, sit in any position comfortable for you. As best you can, begin to let go of anything that happened this morning or any concerns or anything about the schedule this afternoon. Just begin to bring all of your energy and attention here and now to this sacred space. You are in this moment exactly where you need to be. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. We have been brought together this morning for a holy purpose. And this group of people in this space, in this room, in this time will never, ever happen exactly like this again. So this is a holy, sacred, and special moment. So I invite you to continue to allow your body to relax and begin to breathe deeply, filling your air, your lungs with air, with oxygen, and exhaling and completely surrendering to this moment. Consciously beginning to watch your breath. Letting go of any tension in your legs, your abdomen, letting go of any tightness you may have in your chest. Feel your shoulders gently drop. Releasing any tension in your neck, your forehead. Feel your face begin to soften. As you bring all of your energy, all of your focus here and now. There's a sacred, vast space within you. A place in the emptiness and the nothingness. A place where you are genius. Where every problem has already been solved. Every dis-ease has already been healed. When you access your true, essential self, created in the image and likeness of God. And just as your body has relaxed, take a moment and look at your thoughts in your mind and see what may be there. As best you can, allow your mind to begin to unwind, becoming still, quiet. If any thoughts emerge, just simply allow them to be and then let them fall away into the emptiness without judgment. For something magnificent happens in that sacred place between your thoughts, in this gap. This is where miracles happen. This is where transformation happens. A timeless place between your thoughts, in the emptiness. still and know that all is well. Regardless of the circumstances of our life, all is truly well. So we take just a few moments to rest in the emptiness, listening in the silence, listening to that still, small voice. And from this place of stillness, say thank you, God. As we recognize who we are, your beloved, holy children, created in the image and likeness of love of God. We are your presence in this world. Thank you for every day that our eyes are open a little bit more and we begin to remember our true identity, our true nature. And for this time together, you know that everything that needs to be said will be said, and everything that needs to be heard will be heard as we turn this time over to Spirit and say, thank you, God. And so it is. Thank you for coming today. We can go home now. Someone's either on the loose upstairs or you have rats.
Big rats.
Thank you so much for going on that journey, on that inner journey with me. How many people have a daily spiritual practice of some sort? Nice, very cool. I think sometimes we have spiritual practices and don't even know it. You know, I remember my dad, who you've heard me speak before. You know, I use this kind of as my time of therapy because my parents were both Pentecostal ministers, and so my dad would have never approved of meditation. As a matter of fact, we were told that it was very evil. But one thing about my dad, he believed what he believed, and I wish that I believed what I believed as much as he believed what he believed. You know what I mean? But my dad was such a man of faith, and he had this garden and had all these tomatoes, and he would work with the tomatoes in the morning for hours and just love the tomatoes and talk to the tomatoes and all these things. And I realized that was his spiritual practice. That was his time of meditation, because spiritual practice doesn't have to mean just sitting still. Some people that I know jog and run, and they say sometime in the middle of that running that they enter into this space of no place that's just beautiful. Sometimes we feel that when we sing, music is such a direct, has such a direct access to our hearts. Before I became a minister and was only a musician, I used to tell ministers, well, that's why you have to talk for 20 minutes and it only takes me 3 minutes to sing a song. I do the same thing. So whatever your spiritual practice is, I've learned from my life, if I don't do my spiritual practice, that I feel starved for the rest of the day, just like if I didn't eat any breakfast. At some point during the day, I start running out of gas. And I feel that with my spiritual practice as well. I want us to also remember Barry today, your wonderful keyboardist. He's not feeling very well, so we had to shift some songs around this morning. He was going to play most of the songs today, and he's not feeling well, so we can send him some love and healing, and just hope he's back on his feet doing cartwheels sometime soon. And thanks to Amy for just stepping up and singing and being such a beautiful presence with your congregation here. You know, I've been to many churches before that don't have any singers or anything, so you guys have such a wonderful little crew of people here that provide music for you, so it's a grateful thing to have. So last night we had our visioning, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit if you weren't here. It felt very special and magical to me. I had thought about it all during the week and had meditated and prayed upon it. And if you've never been to a visioning before, it's very different from other things you've done where you make goals and write on a board all the things that you want. It was actually a meditative practice where we let go of our limited ideas and limited thoughts and attempted to access the wisdom within us and asking a few questions just to prod that inner wisdom to see what could happen here at Unity Church on the Mountain and where you could go from here, because you're at a turning point. You know, how long was Reverend Carol here? She was here for
15 years.
Wow, 15 years. And she's out on the road. I've been watching her on Facebook on her adventures. Has anybody been watching her in her camper? I know the first week or something was really rough. She was like, well, I don't know what I've done up here. So you're at a turning point, and you've got Dean here who's stepped up, and there's a time in our lives, and I know with my spiritual community in New Orleans area, there comes times when you just kind of get in a rut, and it's time just to let all of that go and open up to a completely new way of being, a new way of expressing yourself. We're getting back to the basics of why are we here. I talked about that last night. Sometimes we kind of lose sight of it. I know that I do in my rush to get to church in the morning, at home, and get everything ready. I kind of forget why I'm there. You know, I'm a perfectionist and I'm OCD, I admit it. You know, I'm the worst OCDs in the world. And I'm there, like, scrambling around. And sometimes I just lose sight of, like, why am I here this morning at 10:30? Because we start at 10:30. And the visioning part of that was going back to step one to say, why is Unity Church on the Mountain really here? And the reason that you're here is in service. And some of you were here last night. You're going to rehear some of the stuff you heard last night, but it doesn't hurt to hear it a couple times. You know, there are people in this area, probably close by. I noticed there's a residential area all around us here. There's probably people sitting in these homes, maybe less than a mile from here, whose lives aren't working. Their relationships are dysfunctional. They feel hopeless, especially if they look at the economy and all this crazy political stuff. They have no idea that there's a power within them, God the good, that they can use to change their life through their thoughts and their intentions. And you are here as a light. One of the things that came up last night was one person envisioned that from the church there became a lighthouse. And from that lighthouse, at the top there was a pink light that was just emitting all around and just covering this area. And it drew people here. And they came here and they received these ideas and these teachings. And as they left, they were then filled with that light. And I thought, wow, what a beautiful way to think about your spiritual community, to think about why you are here. And sometimes we have done things over and over, and we do them just because they're tradition. And when we did this visioning at my spiritual center, we actually implemented some of the changes that came up through this visioning. And one of them terrified me. I didn't want to do it. So in the visioning, 3 people came up with the idea that when it was time for the offering, that we should give our offering as an act of faith and bring it forward. And so we stopped having ushers, and we have this beautiful altar in the front with a basket, and when it comes time for the offering, people hold their offering and bless it, and we're singing a song of gratitude, and they actively bring it forward and put it in the basket and get an affirmation. And I was so horrified. I was like, oh my God, the first time we did it, because I said, we got to do it. And I was shaking in my boots. I was like, no, these people are going to be so mad at me for making them come up here and be in front of everybody. And, you know, we stream our service too. And I was like, That's the time when everyone is singing because they're walking in front of the camera. And I'm like, oh, my Lord, it's going to be a disaster. I was about to have like a panic attack in the middle of the service before the offering. But we did it. And guess what? It totally transformed our giving process. Now, I'm not saying that that's what will happen here, but that's an example of some changes that can come about from doing this visioning and letting go of these old ideas. Now, people get upset. There was one time we didn't really have time to do that, and it was during one of the Saints games, which I'm not going to talk about this morning. I'm not mad. Actually, I am, but I'm holding it in. And one day we didn't have time to do it, and everyone said, wow, we missed that feeling. It felt like we're actively giving as we walk up. Now, that's a brave thing to do, to ask people to come forward. But, and we made a lot of changes. We actually changed the time of our service. They had been starting at 11 o'clock for 40 years, and we went to 10:30. So as we vision, you have to kind of put your seatbelt on because there may be some changes. And we say we want changes. So this is the crux. This is the paradox. We all say, oh, I want to change. And then when it starts to change, we freak out and say, what is going on? I'm so uncomfortable with this. So one of the things I mentioned too last night was me as a spiritual director, as a minister, which I think minister is kind of a weird name for me. I don't know if I look like a minister. I had someone curse in front of me when I was being introduced to someone at this event, and then his friend said, well, that's a minister. And the person began to apologize because he said these words in front of me. And I'm like, well, I'm a human being. Like, you know. He's like, you don't look anything like a minister. And I was like, well, I think I'm kind of grateful for that. But anyway, I, a long time ago, let go of the thought of wanting just to build a big church. When I first got to Unity of Metairie, I had this idea, and I realized a lot of it was ego-centered. You know, oh, we're going to build up to 100 people, then we're going to build up to 500, and then we're going to have 1,000. And when I really analyzed that, I thought, you know what? That's coming from a place of just wanting to have a big old honking church. And all the things that come with it. Now, with a church that big, you get some good stuff, but you get some more headaches too. You know, the more people, the more ideas, and the more egos. And I was so disillusioned when I first went to my first Unity, actually my first Center for Spiritual Living. I thought everybody was completely loving and there was no conflict. But I learned quickly about that stuff. And so what I've evolved to now with my spiritual practice and with being there with the spiritual family is I want people to come through these doors that are actively ready to grow in consciousness and to actually ready to accept their holiness, to accept who they are as blessed children of God. Why do we have problems accepting how magnificent we are? Why? It actually makes some people uncomfortable to say, I am holy. Well, guess what? You are. Sorry if you don't like that, but you are, because your Creator made you like itself. So you have to be that. So my vision now for my spiritual center is for people to come through these doors that are ready to learn and expand and understand completely who they are and begin to awaken to their true identity. And it may be 10, or it may be 15, or it may be 1,000, but I'm no longer concerned about that part of it. And I just love that idea of, I'm kind of thinking about that for my place too, that this place is just you're on a hill, so what a perfect place for a lighthouse. And that light can reach far and wide from here, you know. So what a great vision to have for your spiritual center. A couple of things I wanted to say. First of all, my dear friend Mike is back here, this fresh face. He shocked me today because he was a part and is still part of our family down in the New Orleans area, and he didn't tell me he was coming, and he just moved here. How long have you been here, Mike?
About 2 weeks now.
Oh, 2 weeks. You did just move here.
Yeah.
So y'all welcome him to Huntsville, show him all the sights. So we have a little bit of synchronicity. He, from what I understand, you went online and said there was a Unity here, and then you saw me.
Well, Jack's going to be there.
He's like, wait a minute.
I'm going to freak him out.
Here, what's happening? So we did that. I don't know if you remember that scene from E.T. where the little girl meets E.T. and she goes, ah! Because Mike walked in and I'm like, what are you doing here? He said, hey, he surprised me. And I was like, wow. It was like, it's such a great thing. So Good to see you, Mike. I'm glad to. How synchronistic is it for us to be together today? The other thing I want to acknowledge is, like I said, I talk about my parents a lot. My mom, who made her transition 3 years ago, about this time, was the first woman ever ordained in the Pentecostal movement in 1943. And back then, women weren't allowed to be ministers. You could teach. And my mom, she was such a powerful creator. She did the principles that we do. She just didn't call it that. She was one of the greatest metaphysicians I've ever known, but she would never have called it that. She could create anything. I mean, she was like, poof, I want a new car, poof, I'm ready for this, poof. Even me, she had 3 daughters, and the doctor said, you can't have any more kids. And my dad said, I'm going to have a son. And they both had so much faith. My mom actually, back then, everybody believed what the doctor said. And the doctor said, you can't have any more kids. So I have a sister 20 years older than me, and my sisters were already much older. And my dad said, I have prayed for a son, and I'm going to get a son. God's going to give me a son. So my mom got sick, and they put her in the hospital and told her she had gallstones. And they were getting ready to do surgery, and they did a blood test, and they said, oh my God, Mrs. Fowler, you don't have gallstones, you have a baby. She was like, oh my word, I'm over 40 years old. Back then, 40-year-old women didn't have many kids. So I guess I'm the world's largest singing kidney stone. And so today would have been my mom's 96th birthday, January 27th. Would have been her birthday here in the world. And as I said, she made her transition 3 years ago when she was 92, just before she turned 93. And for me, back to our principles, using these principles that we know, that the Fillmores taught us and others that followed them, to realize that we're not our bodies, that we're much more than that. This is just a limited version of ourselves. I used these principles to move through my mom's passing, so it became a very beautiful thing. Without grief, without sorrow, I stayed with her. I was like, wow, she's been with me my whole life. I'm going to be with her. And she stayed vibrant up until the last week. She was lifting weights and going to an exercise class. And she had just a little episode. She went in the hospital, and just a few days later, she left her body. And I said, I'm going to be with her. I went in Mobile. I grew up in Mobile, down the road here. And I went and stayed with her. My sister and I took turns just being with her. And I said, I'm not going to run from this. I'm going to be with her because she's not this body anyway. And it was the most magical, wonderful thing that I've ever done to usher her into her next wonderful adventure, into transition. I was holding her hand when she took her last breath. And this beautiful thing happened where a nurse came in and said, we were talking about that hospital had been there for a very long time. And she said, you grew up here, did you happen to be born in this hospital? I said, yes, Mobile Infirmary. I was born here. She said, you won't believe this, but the maternity ward was right next door to here. So I ushered my mother out of the world right next door to where she brought me in.
Oh, wow.
Now you can't make that stuff up. That is some good God stuff going on. And it's beautiful to say it, and what it means to me, nothing more than being beautiful, is that there's something in the invisible working on your behalf that you're not even aware of, that's always guiding you and always leading you. And that's why visioning is important, because with all of our chaos and all this craziness and government and all the stuff that goes on around us, it's easy to get distracted and forget that within you there's this vast wisdom that knows what to do, that knows how to be happy, that knows how to create a beautiful life, and that also transfers to your spiritual family. Collectively, you can access that wisdom. You can access that power, that co-creative power. Even during the Depression, I'm talking about we had a couple, but the Big Depression, they call it, there were people that became millionaires, and they prospered. And why was that? Because they realized that they weren't a statistic, that they had within them the power to prosper, no matter what was happening in the world. So we can't continue to blame anyone. Government, the president, the House, the Senate, it's up to you to co-create your life in the way that you want it to be. And nothing stands in your way. And that also goes for your spiritual center here. Whatever you decide to do collectively, it can be done. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. It doesn't matter what goals you've set in the past. None of that matters anymore. The only thing that matters is this moment right now. What do you want for this spiritual community? And that's what this visioning is about. There's a great author named Joe Dispenza. Some of you may know of him. He wrote a book called Biology of Belief. He's a scientist, but he writes from a metaphysical standpoint. And he just released this past year a book called Becoming Supernatural. And if you love reading really exciting stuff, especially if you love kind of the scientific aspect meshed with the metaphysical, Joe Dispenza is an amazing author. And he said something that really affected me in a deep way. He said, we are not using our brains and our mind for the right purpose for which they were created. Your powerful mind, and I'm talking about the mind that's beyond just the human brain, the mind, the consciousness, the awareness, was created as an enormous, powerful center of creation to create the life that you want, to look beyond what is in front of you and vision for the things you don't even see yet. The evidence of things not seen. That's what the scripture says that faith is. So it doesn't matter what you're looking at. As a matter of fact, if you continue to just look at what you have, you're going to create the same thing over and over again. And that's why we say our lives aren't changing. It's because you continue to look at what's in front of you and just recreate that. But our brains, as Joe Dispenza says, we're not meant to do that. Our brains are meant to be a creator, but we use them and fill up all of their data with past and junk. We turned our beautiful creative mind into a depository of junk. A bunch of meaningless information and the past, man, we drag that past around. We just drag it around and use it for excuses and all kinds of stuff. And of course, many of us have wounds from the past we need to heal. I'm not belittling that. But we can drag that stuff around. And what it does, it gets in the way of you creating a space for something new. You have to let go of all of that stuff and create this beautiful open space. And that's what visioning does. It creates a brand new canvas that no matter what you have done before, whatever you've experienced before, you can create something brand new. All that sound good?
Yes.
Are you on board for what you can do here with the spiritual community from here on out?
Yes.
And the good part about it is it's easy because you don't have to figure it out. You have to listen to the wisdom that knows what to do. As a matter of fact, we can't figure it out. You know, we have to listen to that. Why would you listen to your little limited slice of reality that you see when there's this vast wisdom that knows everything? It knows all. It knows what's going to happen. It knows what is coming. And you can listen to that and prepare for that. I can see you, because I'm not so attached and I don't know your past, thank God. I don't know what else happened here, so I'm able to help you hold that vision. You know, Course in Miracles says this wonderful thing which makes me laugh. It says, when two people come together, the one that is most sane in that moment can be the most helpful. Think about that for a minute. And so, because I don't know that past, I'm able to see it for you temporarily until you can see it for yourself. And that's what I think prayer is. Prayer is simply being with someone and knowing the truth about their situation while they're temporarily unable to see the truth for themselves. That's all that prayer is. That's what chaplains do. And in Center for Spiritual Living, they call them practitioners. But there are people that have practiced this practice and can sit with you and just simply know the truth. Because we don't have to pray for anything. You realize that this presence has already given you everything that you need? That you don't need anything else. But we block it. We don't allow ourselves to receive it. It's already here. We already have the kingdom, as we call it. It's within us. So we got to let all of that go and just be ready to receive something magnificent and new. And I'm thrilled to be joining you for one weekend every month to help you through this process and to help you to see that maybe if it's hard for you to see. Because I know what it's like. And I experienced that in my spiritual center. I've been there for 6 years. And I mean, that's not a vast amount of time, but it's enough amount of time that I'm kind of influenced by the past. And I sometimes go to we have brand new board members, and I'm so excited for them because they don't know all the junk that I know. They just don't. And so they come up with these great ideas, and I find myself going, no, I start to say, we tried that before, and I just shut my mouth and say, no, I'm going to let them see it for me because I just can't. I know we tried that before, and it was a huge failure, but you know what? They're excited about it, so I'm getting my old past self out of the way and letting something really great emerge from right here. So Michael Beckwith, Dr. Michael Beckwith, who is the spiritual director at Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. Some of you may know him. He was in The Secret, and he's a powerful, powerful presence and speaker, along with his wife, Ricky Byers Beckwith, who's this amazing songwriter. They partnered together and created this beautiful, I think they have about 6,000 or 7,000 members in Los Angeles. And Dr. Michael, as I told them last night, not only was in The Secret, which so many people saw, but he also got Oprahized. You know, Oprah's had him on a couple of times, so a lot of people know about him. He's the one that developed this visioning process we did last night. And he has used it many times over the last 25 years of his spiritual center to create something new. So they never stay stagnant. And I'm sure that's the reason that they continue to grow, is that there's always this sense of newness and this sense of inspiration and this sense of rejuvenation. And he said something so powerful. I heard it for the first time maybe 10 years ago, but it just affects me so deeply. He said, pain pushes until vision pulls. Pain pushes until vision pulls. And that is not only for our spiritual community and your spiritual community here, but that's also your personal life. If we choose to live in pain and drama, we spend most of our time putting out fires and trying to deal with things. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever been at a point of your life that most of your day has just been spent taking care of things? You're just putting out the fires and taking care of things, and there's just drama and stuff going on. You can move beyond that, because that's not what we're meant to do. We're meant to move beyond that to begin to thrive. There's a way to let go of that and discontinue letting pain be the thing that pushes us to the next thing, and let this magnificent vision pull us towards it. And that's what I call thriving. Thriving is when all the junk and the drama and the past is gone, and you're living every day in this sense of thriving and being thrilled at what you do. I'm sure many of you heard Charles Fillmore's famous phrase he said in his 90s. In his 90s, I fairly sizzle with zeal to get up and do what I need to do today. Man, I want to sizzle. I really do. I am a beast in the morning. You don't want to be around me. I think about him when I get up and think, man, in 90 years old, like, how? Like, what is that? What a great example to even know that's available. I want to sizzle with zeal when I get up. I want to be so excited about what I'm doing in my life that instead of laying there feeling delirious, wanting to go punch the coffee pot on, that I'm up excited about what there is for Spirit for me to do that. And so that is great for you personally, and it's also a beautiful process for you to do as a family, as a spiritual community. So we will be meeting once again. I'll be back on February 17th, on that Sunday, and we are going to be going over some of the visioning ideas. And just because you weren't here last night doesn't mean that you can't be involved with this. If you're interested in getting the questions that we asked last night, you can. Is it okay to email you, Lucy?
Sure.
Just as you can send a copy.
Sure.
So unitychurchonthemountain@gmail.com. Send that to Lucy and put it in the heading. Say request vision sheet, and you can do that on your own. It's a great thing for you to do personally as well. You simply have to do what we did last night. Just get into a space of stillness and meditation. Just drop your thoughts and analyzing. And there's just questions that you listen to and kind of stream of consciousness right. No matter what comes up, you put it down. If it sounds crazy, you still put it down. And any of you can do that. I would encourage as many people as possible to do that. And on February 17th, we're going to have a community gathering right after church to talk about all those things that came up, and to pray over those things, and to see, for instance, what we can implement immediately and what maybe could be a long-term goal. Like last night we talked about how wonderful it would be if there was a sign that was actually lit up out on the highway. Because I think that probably thousands of people pass your driveway and don't even know that you're here. I mean, I know because I experienced that. I mean, without GPS, I almost ran off the road last night coming through here. I couldn't even see the driveway, and all the cars were kind of like, hey. I was like, oh my God, there it is. You know, like driving in like the speedway. And some of you may have done that as well. But There's ways that we can listen to Spirit that will make people that are ready to hear this become aware. And one of the things I was going to say to close is that there's a big difference between advertising and making awareness. Advertising is when you use nice terms and beautiful pictures and models to buy a product that you might not necessarily need. And awareness is when we listen to Spirit and get the perfect ideas so that people that are ready to hear this message become aware that you're actually up here on the mountain. And when that happens, you don't really have to advertise in that sense. You don't have to put models up and and say all these beautiful things and have dancers out on the street flowing, whatever it is you got to do. Somebody's slinging the signs, you see those car wash signs or whatever they're doing, the arrow. You don't need that because Spirit knows what it's doing. But there is a sense that there needs to be an awareness to the people around this area. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah.
And we thought about, wow, wouldn't that, I don't know what has to happen with the city or the county or whatever. Wouldn't it be great if there was actually a lit up sign that people came out there at night and saw that? And they may say, what is that? They may even go to your website. It may even traumatize them, but at least they know you're up here. So I'm so happy and honored to be here with you all for the next months. And I would encourage you to get that vision seat if you weren't here last night, and do the process yourself for your spiritual community, and do it for yourself personally as well. And remember, those are two separate things, for you personally and then for your spiritual community. But get that done, and I can see it for you if you're having a hard time. If you're sitting there today and you've been here a long time and saying this, okay, let's get real. Let's do the talk, all right? Some of you may be saying, and it's okay, you may be saying, oh, we've done this before. We've done this, we wrote down stuff, and nothing ever happens. We'll get over it. Because if you can't see it, I'll help you to see it until you get on board with it. Because if you're willing to do this, it will drastically change in a good way everything about what Unity Church on the Mountain is. And the people that are ready to be open and to grow their consciousness will be sitting their behinds in these pews. And everyone will be thrilled. And I can see you growing and being prosperous because you're here for a holy purpose. And Unity Church on the Mountain is a great idea in the mind of God. Namaste.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We're going to continue with the service. Are we going to do God's and everything?
Sure.
Music and music.
Yes, and we're actually going to strike up the band. If everyone can stand for just a moment.
We're going to go ahead and stand. We've done this one before. Y'all know this one. It's real easy to follow. Hopefully we're going to get the words up there this time. He's striking up the band. That's what he's doing.
Yes, all right.
But obviously God and everything by our lovely Jack Fowler. So.
All right. You're welcome to dance around too if you want to. I see joy, I see peace, I see goodness surrounding me. I see love in every breath I breathe. I see God in everything. I see happiness, I see freedom. I see the beauty that lives in me. I see
Please join me as we affirm together. Divine love.
The
Inexhaustible resource of spirit is equal to every demand. There is no reality in lack. Abundance is here and now manifest.
And this is another Karen Drucker song for the opportunity. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And now let us affirm our offertory and prayer blessing. Divine love through me
Blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Lovingly I give, and lovingly I receive.
We're going to go ahead and stand and close with our prayer song and prayer for protection. Blessed be peace on earth, and blessed be with me. Blessed be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as Creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyous love. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And now let us affirm our prayer for protection.
The
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love. The power of God protects us. I am the power. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence. Wherever